Network science is the study of how networks evolve, how they affect, how they are modeled. For example, terrorists, so they have their own networks. How can we infer who they are? Can we infer just based upon the dynamics of information which is being changed, which is being sent around? How do we find new cures in the case of medicine? How do you create social networks that are better, in which we can share more, which are private, which are safe? We need the network science to study how we are networked, which we all are, and to find safer, find more robust, fail-safe ways that can scale.
Network science is an area that has really evolved in the last 10 or 15 years or so, and has been a movement where scientists have realized that they need to take into account all of the interacting parts of a system in order to understand how the system functions as a whole. One of the challenges that people have in looking at biological networks is understanding how the changes in those systems over either short or long time scales, how that depends on the different components of the network. So these could be genes that are either changing because of mutations or over evolutionary time, because of gene frequencies are changing in populations, or it could be that because of ecosystem change, because of climate change, the way that ecosystems function or the way that individual species within a food network changes over time.
Historically, social scientists have been hampered because it's very hard for us to get data. We spend huge amounts of energy and time and effort trying to get 100 undergraduates to take a survey about how they feel. It's crazy how hard it is to get good data about the social world. Nowadays, we're in this weird situation where the social world is producing data for us. The internet is like, people get up every morning and I have these feelings, I'm going to go to my blog site, I'm going to write everything I feel, I'm going to tell you all my thoughts about Bush and Obama, I'm going to talk about my friends, I'm going to talk about who I love, who I don't love. The world is sort of creating this incredible social science data set that is beyond our wildest dreams 10 or 15 years ago about what we would like to collect. So the question is, how do you bring social scientists to this fire hose of data which is available, which in some sense would answer all of our problems about how we might want to be able to think about sort of analyzing people's feelings or their connections or their love life, their economy, their practice, whatever it might be.
The way I often think about it, there are two kinds of networks: the engineered networks and the natural networks. And functionally, they are very different. I mean, people obviously ask very different questions. They would ask about a brain, then they would ask about, say, a network of banks or a road network. But in some level, these networks have a lot of commonalities. I mean, in some sense, the structural questions one could ask are very similar. So part of the goal for the network science, IGERT, and as a research discipline is to try to understand to what extent we can study them at a level of abstraction where we can develop a common set of techniques and a common mathematical foundation, where lessons learned from one discipline can be ported to another one.
Our project for this grant is explicitly to train 25 PhD students, and that's the whole basis for the grant, and that's what we applied for, and that's what the funding is going to do. So the deliverables for us is actually quite explicitly, we're going to train 25 PhDs and train them in this modality of this way of understanding and thinking about science and research.
The companies do need to see people that are trained to work with large amounts of data in the context of networks. So what we believe is what we would like to do is to build a model for how to train people to do research work and to do new things in this area.